He died on January 27, 1993, in his homeland of France. He died a young man compared to the ages of most common men. 46 would take his life that was almost bigger than him. Some men it takes 40 years to just make a career. Andre did it in half that time. Life looked different for him, even the most simple elements from day-to-day life. The giant that helped build an empire, but still stands today as a multi-million-dollar industry, professional wrestling. The one that's never been replaced, Andre the Giant. This is the moment he left the world.
He weighs 520 pounds. Andre the Giant.
The ending to Andre's life is built around loneliness and pain. As Andre came to an end wrestling full-time, still making appearances here and there, he settles down, buying a farm in a little spot in North Carolina with a big red barn and a huge pond and a home that was built around his structure. In the little town that Andre lived in, he was well known and well loved by his community and treated like a human, like he wanted. Andre's made his money from wrestling, endorsements, movies. He's done well for himself, and still to this day, sealed himself in history for some of the most well-known and talked about matches in wrestling, to where no true wrestling fan doesn't know the name of Andre the Giant. As Andre retired in 1990, leaving the spotlight to new up-and-coming wrestlers, his pain and groans were a daily occurrence with his body. His feet hurt, his fingers hurt, from his knuckle to his ankles. Andre was always sore or in deep pain, but the desire to do more and lovable character of Andre remained. Sadly, some of Andre's relationships in the business ended badly. Andre just wasn't what he was when he was younger. He wasn't able to keep up with the speed and moves of younger wrestlers. In a way, Andre not wrestling in the main circuit was protecting him. Andre wasn't the family man, to say the least. During his time as a wrestler, traveling non-stop, living the life as a king, with beer and women, like most wrestlers at the time, it was a party every night. Rumors even emerged that Andre built up a $40,000 hotel bar tab while being on location filming Princess Bride. When you dig into Andre's life, you start to find sad and disheartening elements. Andre had a daughter. Andre didn't want her around his lifestyle. He loved the child from far away. He was on the road every day, maybe being selfish in Andre's own weird way. He saw it as protecting his child as well. People close to Andre said this hurt him, knowing that he had a child out there, and that he couldn't be the father he wanted to be. It was right in the middle of his career. Sadly, Andre only sees his child a handful of times in his own life, just paying child support. The last time Andre saw his daughter was in 1991. Andre would see her and hold her on his knee, ask her questions, her likes and dislikes, and that would be their relationship. Every few years, it's just a situation Andre couldn't figure out how to win. What many people may not be aware of, even though Andre had retired from American wrestling, he still had a great fan base overseas. At the time, Japan would pay American wrestlers X times the money they could make in the States, flying them over, treating them like royalty, and putting on a show in a little coliseum. Some may say more of a spectacle than a wrestling match. This was how Andre made large amounts of money that would allow him to still live a good life. He knew his way around Japan and how to work the crowd. He had spent many years working the scene, spending much of his time with his good friend, Hogan. As Andre had one last match, just weeks and days before his death, he took the match for money and may have sealed his fate for the upcoming weeks. Andre really doesn't do a lot in the match, but when he walks in, the crowd goes crazy. It's the last moment, the last walk-in of a huge career, far away from his homeland and far away from his own bed. When you look at the footage, you can tell that Andre is out of breath, holding the ropes for support and moving very slow and ending the match extremely fast. He's in pain and wanting out, but he loves the spotlight as well. It's the last video of Andre alive that is known up to this day. The next days of Andre's life are a little harder to nail down. With Andre's disease, that was simply gigantism, giving Andre high levels of growth hormones. What many people don't realize is that Andre's body was still growing, except one big part of him, his heart. Andre wasn't a fan of the doctors. He didn't like seeking help from them, never really seeming to give Andre good news. In his later life, he was worried that doctors would stop his career, telling on him and forcing him into surgeries. Andre's pain was severe in his later life, enabling him to walk at times. His heart was under an enormous amount of work, not able to keep up, short of breath and a weak blood flow. As Andre wraps up his match, he flies back home to his ranch in North Carolina for a short moment with his winnings, sleeping in his own bed for the last time. Not much about this moment is known, these last days, last hours, with Andre back on his ranch, but it's rumored by friends that Andre was hyped up about the match he just had in Japan and talking about coming into the mainstream market of wrestling once again. But as Andre is at home resting up, gets a call from family that his father is ill, and what looks to be he is on his deathbed back where Andre grew up, Andre's homeland where he was born. As fast as Andre walks into his home, he'll have to walk right back out of it. He hops on a plane to France, still jet-lagged and tired from his last match. He arrives in France and immediately goes to see his family. A few days after Andre arrived, to see his father and hold his hand for the last time. Andre's father took his last breath. He was devastated to see his father pass right in front of him, putting more pressure on his heart that's already under pressure. Not many details are known about this little moment, the last moments with his family and friends, that said Andre could barely walk when he arrived in France. We do know that Andre spent some time with his family in the little village where they lived, but for Andre to stay comfortable, he would rent a room out for some time in a hotel in Paris. He would go back and forth every night during the day, go back to his family, laugh, eat, play cards, and spend time with his loved ones, trying to find some joy back in his own home. But what Andre's mourning family didn't know is that more mourning would be around the corner. On the day of January 27th, 1993, Andre, who had extended his stay to celebrate his mother's birthday, on his last day, Andre had continued playing cards, drinking, sitting around and laughing. These are the very last pictures of Andre alive, just days, hours before his death. Andre loved people to be happy around him, and even in his last days, it's no exception. Andre was tired. He had been busy, visiting with family. His last day, his last night, he rode back to his hotel room. A little after midnight, he walked into his room, took his clothes off, cleaned himself up, put his night clothes on, and climbed into his bed. He was so tired. Andre falls asleep for the last time, but in the middle of the night, he has a heart attack. He disappears into history, never becoming an old man. The next morning, Andre's room phone rings from 9 o'clock all the way to 2 o'clock. His mother is waiting for him back at her home. He was supposed to have lunch with her that day. She was excited, but she didn't know that Andre was gone. Around 3:30 p.m. that day, after calling and knocking, eventually knocking the door down to find Andre in the bed. The news is spread through the world, and by the nightfall, most of the people that know Andre are in shock. Andre is cremated in France, but his ashes are saved and brought back to his ranch in North Carolina. They're spread over the ranch, so Andre could be there forever, becoming a part of the soil, a new root system that would grow. He left the ranch to his daughter, one last good gesture, and that's the ending for Andre. Nobody wanted. Andre had a good life, a fun life, and a life that gave much to people. Andre the Giant, 47 forever.